Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are in the world or whatever time you'll be watching this video. Now guys, I know a lot of you have been keeping up with what is happening in Jamaica recently of the removal of illegal occupants in Cooper's Pen, right? And there has been a lot of back and forth, a lot of court documents being researched, a lot of government blame, PNP, JLP, who sold the land. The last you hear is that PNP sold the land with the person, with the occupants on it, and a whole lot of stuff going on, and a lot of well, we all know that they are illegal settlers, right? Otherwise called squatters. But I have never seen so many people defending squatters. The landowners have our guys. Well, first off, I must say how the removal process, the demolishing of the structures in the early hours of the morning, guys, they feel it to my heart. I feel it to my heart, because just as the other lady a couple weeks prior, where the Anglican pastor allegedly based on the instructions of her uncle gave her permission to demolish a building, and it was a completely fully furnished building that the lady left, right? And I felt it. So these persons who have lost all their livelihood, we must look at it, they lost all their livelihood. And when you know what touched me? When I saw the old lady and she was looking for her medication, and then I saw the 3-day-old baby. Man, you must not born with no heart not to feel something for those people, no matter how much in the wrong they were. You must not have no heart to feel it for them, because guys, trust me, it rough. I wished that they had the opportunity to remove their belongings. If it was even to remove the belongings outside of the dwellings, right? To put them outside, and then the dwellings, the concrete dwelling, or the dwellings got demolished, but at least they would still have their furniture, their medication, their livelihood. Somebody could have still take them up in the back of one truck, and somebody could have keep them for them, so that when they're starting over, they wouldn't have to start over from under the bottom. Because there's a difference with starting from scratch, and starting under the bottom. Because starting from scratch means that at least you have a little something can start with, right? When you start from under the bottom, it means that you're under the bottom, man. You're under the bottom. You don't have nothing, absolutely nothing. They have no money. Everything was lost and broken down to your spirit. Down to your spirit was broken. So it's hard when you look at it, the humanitarian side of it, the heart, the compassion. You have to have some compassion. No matter that they were, squatters and the owners needed the land, no matter how much no matter what you think, that part of it, It's indescribable. And I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. Again, I wish that they had the opportunity to remove their belongings. Just as how now I see another some other eviction notices going up, that they're giving the persons 30 days to vacate the premises. I wish I had seen some of that for the Cooper's Pen people. I don't know if that was made available. I don't know, guys. I'm just based on what I'm seeing so far. You know what I mean? I wish that they had the opportunity to remove their belongings and remove themselves, or given a little bit one last chance of a notice, because I know that they have been in court and they have been getting notices and stuff. But I just wish that I had seen some signs of one more little short notice. And I know everybody's gonna say, well, they got 10 years, they got 12 years, and they should have left. Yes, they should have left. But to the point where you are now going to remove them, it's hot, man. No matter what you want to think, guys, it really hot. And I really feel for them, and I really hope that they can find somewhere to go. I hear that the government is looking into whatever options, but at the end of the day, yes, the government is supposed to provide social housing for citizens, eligible citizens. I don't see the government going to automatically find a spot of land just for these persons, because we have other citizens of the country who are also in need. We still have persons who have been affected by Hurricane Melissa who are still displaced. Some, I believe, are still in shelters. Some are still living under tents. And those persons lived somewhere. Some of them own their own homes, right? So I don't see where the government is now going to provide houses for these persons who were willingly squatting on someone else's land and leave the other eligible citizens who rightly deserve assistance from the government. Now, as a people, we have to always remember that we should leave people's property alone. No matter how you see a piece of open land and nobody not on it, right? And now you have a lot of people who are talking about adverse possession, and everybody quoting pieces of the meaning of adverse possession, but they're not quoting everything. Because if you are living on someone's land, you capture somebody's land, and now you're going to say, oh, I've been here for X amount of years, so I'm claiming adverse possession, so now the land is mine. Being there just for 12 years isn't all. To claim adverse possession, you have to be on private land for 12 years, undisturbed, and paying taxes. And you have to show proof that you have been on the land and people can identify you as being on the land. Now, for the persons on the Cooper's Pen property, yes, they have been there for 12 or more years, but that whole time has not been undisturbed. because they have been going to court back and forth, back and forth. So they have been disturbed. Also, they have not been paying property tax on where they are. And also, if you're going to be, living on somebody's property, you are being back and forth in court, there is no way you should have constructed permanent structures or concrete structures. Have a board structure or something that is can easily be removed. I saw one gentleman saying that he spent over $1 million on his property. At the end of the day, you knew you're not paying property taxes there, so that is not your property. And taking it to court still doesn't give you the right, not until a judgment has been handed down, which the owners have been granted several times the right to possession of their property, meaning that they have the right to remove anybody off their property. Now, I feel it for, I'm going to be showing you some properties, right? That I want to know for some of these persons who are living overseas. Some may still be living on another part of the island, but they are building these houses, or some of these houses seems to have been deserted. Some of them don't seem to be occupied. They just seem to have been locked up. So are you telling me that these persons now should ensure that they have someone on these properties? Because a part of the adverse position, again, for the property owners is that just paying property taxes alone does not guarantee that you keep your property. You have to do upkeep, meaning that you have to keep the property looking in livable condition. So even if you have a caretaker on the land, right, someone to take care of the house, someone to take care of the surrounding area, so like weeding, gardening, doing proper upkeep of the land, at least it shows that it is occupied. And if anyone unauthorized comes to live on that land, you have to take action immediately, just so that they don't get complacent and then the time drags on and then they say that they are uninterrupted. It has to be an interrupted time, because then the persons can claim that they have been there uninterrupted. Now, I know that there are a lot of persons who are overseas and who are, building their forever home back in Jamaica, and they have their land, they're securing their land and trying to, get all the money to do whatever they want. Now I'm wondering if this is going to rake up a whole ant's nest now, because again, as I see, there's some new development where persons now have gotten notice. So a lot of persons who are now living on captured land if you have been given notice to leave, or if you have been in court, I would think that these persons now should take heed in what is happening and find somewhere to go. And another thing I must point out, guys, that while every citizen has the right to own a piece of property in Jamaica, we also need to remember that not everybody is going to be able to own a piece of land. We all have the right, yes. But not everybody is going to own a piece of land, because not everybody can afford to buy a piece of land. Not everybody can afford to buy a house. Because even when I look at that gentleman with the $1.5 million, I'm like, if you have $1.5 million to put up concrete structure on somebody's land, you could have been paying rent. Because a lot of those persons, they have their concrete structures and they're driving cars. You could have been paying rent somewhere legally and saving to buy your own property. Right? So while everyone has the right to buy a piece of land, not everyone can afford to buy the land. Because according to the court records, the persons who were living illegally on the Cooper's Pen land, the owners previously had given them the option to purchase the land. And they didn't, or they weren't able to. And now we know that the land is now more valuable. So if they could not afford the land when the land was cheaper, there's no way that they are going to be able to afford it now that it is more expensive. And we have to, also look out for the legal owners of the land. You can't just be looking and say, oh, well, I've been living here, so I've captured the property. That is not fair to the landowners. That is not fair. Because if I own a piece of land and I've been taking you to court, I'm for several years trying to get you off my property, I'm losing money if I'm the landowner. I'm losing money because I'm paying property taxes for so many years and I don't have access to my land. I have to be paying lawyers to be going back and forth, and we all know lawyers not cheap. So as if they're trying to frustrate the landowner into just giving up and giving away his land, and that is not fair. That is absolutely not fair to the landowner. The landowner has the right to this land. Whomever you people want to say is the owner of the land, there have been documents that the land has been sold here, sold there, transferred here, and everybody keeps saying the landowner died and XYZ. But even if the landowner died, the landowner had heirs that the property would be transferred to, which would have been stipulated in some will or next of kin or something else. Right? So for everybody who is trying to shift the right side to the squatters, it can't be the right side to the squatters when they haven't fulfilled all the necessary what you would call it now, the necessities to claim the land under adverse possession. Right? So now I want you to look at these properties and tell me, these properties do seem to have been vacated, right? They seem to be uninhabited, and a couple of them, at least there is one, seems to be in an affluent community. Now tell me, if these were your properties, would you feel the same way?
Keep left onto Highway 401 East.
Would you be feeling the same way if persons just came and took over your property and are refusing to leave? What would your action be? Or what would your reaction be? Because remember, you have been taking them to court. Right? You have been taking them to court. And you have been given the writ of possession several times. And the persons are still living on your property. The last time you came, the last time you came with security forces, they were met with violence because they refused to move. Now tell me, if you had these properties and people came and took them over and claimed that these properties now belong to them, what would your action be? Again, guys, I really feel it for the persons who have lost everything. I really, really do feel it for them. But at the end of the day, we still need to look at the rights, the legal rights of persons. You cannot just go on someone's property and claim that it is yours and think that because you say it's yours, that you now have the right to take over someone's property without them trying to get it back at all costs. Now, what would you do if this was your property that you have in Jamaica and for whatever reason your property has paused? Look at these houses, guys. What would happen if these belong to you or your family, and then you see people come and take over and claim that these properties are theirs? This is similar to what is happening in Cooper's Pen. Imagine you spent millions of dollars, or your family members spent millions of dollars in building these properties, and for whatever reason, they're not finished. Nobody knows what happened. Persons could still be paying property taxes on these properties. So you mean to tell me that persons can then just come and take over just because they see it? I mean, I get it that you should be doing your upkeep and keeping the place looking respectable and not letting it get bushed over, right? You need to keep your property clear, but still, that still doesn't give any right to come and take over your property. It doesn't belong to them. That's theft. That is outright theft of trying to claim your property. Right? So yes, while these owners should ensure that there is upkeep, this one looks at it as if it has been unlived in for many years. So, what if these properties belong to your family? What would you do? And I think the owners or the family members of these properties should now be on high alert. They should be on high alert and come back to these properties and do cleanup and have some contingency plan in place. Because as we realize, or as we now know, persons can now just come, take over the properties, and claim it's theirs. And then that sets you up for a long legal battle to get it back. Look at this boat-shaped house. Seems to have been abandoned as well. Now, is it right? Is it right? Where are these families? Should these families really come over and take possession of their property? Ensure that their property taxes are paid up. Ensure that they hire someone, even a caretaker, to be on that property, to live on that property if they're not there. Have a caretaker, live there, take care of the property. That way, squatters can come and claim their rights, because you will now have someone living on the property, someone taking care of it. and ensure that you're paying your property taxes. And anyone unlawful that comes on your property, as soon as they come on your property, you immediately get them off. You immediately get them off. Don't allow them to settle. Because allowing them to settle will surely be one step in you losing your property, losing your investment. Look at this house, guys. You want to tell me your family member or your family invested millions in these properties only for persons to just see them and decide to come and take it over? And then you have to end up spending millions more in court fees, lawyer fees, the stress in trying to get them off your property. Nobody knows what happened. What if the owners are, incapacitated for whatever reason, and they're just waiting on their time to come back and finish their property? Doesn't give you the right to just see there's two mattresses. Maybe people have already started to claim that. I would implore the owners of these properties to make haste. Otherwise, these will no longer be yours. Take heed. These are some nice properties, guys. Some nice buildings. Look at this one. This one looks like it's in an affluent community, but it looks unkempt. What if squatters came into this community, this house that seems to be in an affluent community? Would persons be still on the side of the squatters if they came and claimed this property? Would they still be on the side of the squatters to leave them alone there? Or would they try to get them out of this community? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. What do you think the residents of this community would say and or do? These are some nice properties, guys. Seems as if they're in nice communities. Look at the view. Look at the view. And honestly, tell me, if you were living in these communities and squatters came and took over, would you be on the side of the squatters to remain? Or would you be on the side of the homeowners and getting rid of the squatters off your property? Let me know.